Unlike deer ticks, winter ticks don't carry diseases, but they are draining the life out of animals in the wild, especially very young moose.
Winter ticks killed the highest percentage of young moose calves this year since tracking surveys began more than 8 years ago. Warming winters with less snow is helping those winter ticks thrive, making young moose even more vulnerable.
When biologists sliced open the first carcass, they expected to find something familiar. Maybe signs of a wolf attack, maybe starvation, maybe disease. What they found instead made them step back in disbelief. The organs were pale, not pink, not red, white, like the color had been drained out of them. And when they looked closer at the skin, they saw movement. The fur was rippling, not from the wind, from thousands of tiny legs crawling beneath it. This wasn't a predator attack. This was something far worse. The forensic autopsy would reveal a killer so small, so numerous, that it had turned the peaceful forests of northern Maine into a mass grave. And the findings would shake everything wildlife experts thought they knew about survival in the north. The bodies in the snow. The spruce fir forests of northern Maine are supposed to be quiet, but in the winter of 2022, they became disturbingly silent. This is moose country, the domain of Alces alces, the largest member of the deer family. These animals stand 6 feet tall at the shoulder. They tip the scales at over 1,000 pounds. They have survived ice ages and brutal winters that would kill a human in hours. But something was killing them. Something invisible. Hunters started finding carcasses in strange places. Hikers reported seeing pale, stumbling animals that didn't run away. The woods felt wrong. The biologists at the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife decided to investigate. They focused on Wildlife Management District 4, a massive 2,000 square mile chunk of land northwest of Moosehead Lake, remote, rugged. Normally, it was moose paradise. They captured 70 moose calves born the previous spring and fitted them with GPS collars. The plan was simple: track their movements, study their survival rates, standard research. Then the signals started going silent. One by one, the GPS dots stopped moving. A motionless collar means one thing: death. At first, a few deaths seemed normal. Winters are hard. But the notifications kept coming. Ping stopped. Ping stopped. Ping stopped.
In 5 of those 6 years, we had more than half of our collared calves die from winter ticks. More than half.
By May, when the snow finally melted, the team looked at the data and felt their stomachs drop. 60 out of 70 calves were dead. That is nearly 90% mortality in a single season. 9 out of every 10 babies wiped out in a few months. This was not a bad winter. This was a massacre. The forensic discovery. The biologists put on their boots and went to recover the collars. They needed answers. They needed autopsies. Lee Cantar, Maine State moose biologist, led the investigation. His team performed full forensic necropsies on every carcass they could reach. They documented everything: weight, organ condition, bone marrow samples, external parasites. The first body they opened told a story of horror. The calf was emaciated, skeleton wrapped in loose skin. But it was not starvation in the traditional sense. There was browse in the forest, there was food available. When they examined the hide, they found the killer. Ticks, tens of thousands of them, covering every inch of exposed skin, clustered around the ears, the neck, the belly. Some were engorged to the size of grapes. Others were still feeding, their bodies swelling with stolen blood. Kantar stopped counting after they reached 90,000 on a single animal. 90,000 parasites on one moose. But the external examination was just the beginning. The real horror was inside. When they opened the thoracic cavity, the organs looked wrong. The heart was pale. The liver was ghostly white. The kidneys had lost their healthy pink color. This was acute anemia. The animal had been drained of blood. They extracted a femur bone and cut it open to examine the marrow. In a healthy moose, bone marrow is white and waxy, solid fat. Energy reserves. In this calf, the marrow was red and gelatinous, like runny jelly. The body had burned through every fat reserve trying to replace the blood being stolen. It had consumed itself from the inside out. One autopsy was tragic, but when they examined the second carcass, they found the same thing, and the third, and the fourth. Every single dead calf showed the same pattern: massive tick infestation, severe anemia, depleted bone marrow, organ failure. The forensic evidence was undeniable. These animals had not been killed by wolves or disease or starvation. They had been eaten alive, from the outside in. Moose number 59. The case that haunted Cantar's team was Moose 59. She was a 12-year-old cow, a survivor. She had lived through more than a decade of harsh Maine winters. She was pregnant, carrying a calf that should have been born in spring. When they found her body, she was nothing but bones and skin. The autopsy revealed catastrophic damage. Over 90,000 ticks had been feeding on her throughout the winter. The blood loss was so severe that her body had shut down non-essential functions to survive. Her fetus had died inside her weeks before she collapsed. Her body simply could not support 2 lives anymore. It could barely support one. When they examined her bone marrow, it was completely depleted. Red jelly instead of white fat. She had burned through every calorie, every reserve, every last bit of stored energy. The forensic conclusion was clear. Moose 59 did not die because there was no food in the forest. She died because she was being drained faster than she could replenish. She was pregnant and strong and experienced, and it still was not enough. The killer identified. The parasite responsible for this carnage has a name: Dermacentor albipictus, the winter tick. Do not let the name fool you. This is not the tick you pull off your dog after a hike. This is a biological weapon evolved specifically to take down giants. Most ticks live complicated lives. They jump from host to host, mouse to deer to human. Many die before finding their next meal. The winter tick operates differently. It is what scientists call a one-host tick. It finds a single animal and stays there for months. It moves in for the winter. Here is how the attack works. In late summer, female ticks lay billions of eggs on the forest floor. When the eggs hatch, tiny larvae crawl up plant stems and cluster together in massive groups. Biologists call these questing clusters. Thousands of pin-sized parasites, legs waving, waiting for something warm to brush past. They sense carbon dioxide. They feel body heat. They wait. When a moose walks through, pushing through brush and saplings, the cluster explodes. In seconds, thousands of larvae transfer to the animal. They crawl down through the fur and settle against the skin. A single moose can pick up 30,000, 50,000, even 100,000 ticks in one day. Then the feeding begins. Over the next 5 to 6 months, the larvae grow into nymphs, then into adults. Every growth stage requires blood. By late winter, the females are fully engorged, swollen to the size of grapes. Each one drinks about 1 milliliter of blood. 1 milliliter sounds insignificant, but multiply it by 90,000. The math is horrifying. A heavily infested moose loses liters of blood over the winter. A calf simply does not have that much to spare. The torture factor. Blood loss alone would be deadly enough, but the forensic examinations revealed additional trauma. The moose were covered in wounds, not from predators, from themselves. Imagine 100,000 insects biting you simultaneously. The itch is unbearable, maddening. The moose stop eating. They spend all their time scratching. They use their hooves. They rub against trees. They are desperate for relief. This frantic grooming destroys their fur. A moose coat is an engineering marvel. Hollow hairs trap air, creating insulation that keeps them warm at 40 degrees below zero. Snow can sit on a healthy moose without melting because no body heat escapes. But as they scratch and rub, they tear out their guard hairs. They rip their own coat apart. They expose bare skin to the brutal Maine winter. Now they are bleeding from the parasites, starving because they cannot stop scratching long enough to eat, and freezing because they have destroyed their own protection. The forensic team documented this triple threat in carcass after carcass. Exsanguination, starvation, hypothermia, all caused by an animal the size of a pinhead. The ghost moose phenomenon. The autopsies explained something else that had been haunting the forests for years. Locals had been reporting sightings of pale, white moose drifting through the trees. They called them ghost moose, spectral figures that seemed to float against the dark forest background. The forensic findings revealed the truth. These were not supernatural apparitions, they were victims. When a moose loses its dark brown outer coat from excessive scratching, the pale undercoat and raw skin become visible. From a distance, especially against snow, these animals look white. A ghost moose is a sick moose, an animal in so much pain that it has destroyed its only defense against the cold. Hikers who encounter them report strange behavior. The moose do not run. They linger on trails. They stare blankly. They are too exhausted to flee. Many of them will not survive the winter. And those that do will be permanently weakened, less likely to reproduce, more vulnerable to predators. The damage follows them forever. Why now? The forensic investigation answered what was killing the moose. But it raised a bigger question. The winter tick is native to North America. It has existed alongside moose for thousands of years. Why was it suddenly becoming a mass killer? The autopsies provided biological evidence. but the explanation required looking beyond the bodies. Climate data told the rest of the story.
The global warming is likely increasing their abundance in the northern limit is moving north and north and north.
According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, average temperatures in Maine have risen about 3 degrees Fahrenheit since 1895. That sounds insignificant. 3 degrees. Who cares? The ticks care. In the old days, winter came early. Hard frost hit in October. Snow blanketed the ground by November. This was devastating for tick larvae. When snow covers the ground, they cannot reach a host. Cold snaps killed millions before they ever found a meal. But the climate is shifting. Fall seasons are stretching out. September is warmer. October is milder. Snow does not stick until December or January. This gives the ticks months instead of weeks to find a host. The questing window has expanded dramatically. The door to the buffet stays open all season. Research published in the Journal of Wildlife Management confirmed the connection. Warmer falls lead directly to higher tick abundance. Higher tick abundance leads to dead moose. There is another factor: forestry. Northern Maine is logging country. When timber companies clear-cut sections of forest, shrubs and saplings grow back first. This is prime moose food. In the 1990s, extensive logging created massive amounts of regenerating forest. The moose population exploded. More food meant more moose. Densities reached 40 animals per 10 square miles in some areas. High density is exactly what parasites need. If one moose walks through a tick cluster every 3 months, many ticks die waiting. If 40 moose pass through every week, the ticks thrive. Humans created the perfect storm. We packed the moose together with ideal habitat. We warmed the planet and extended the tick season. We built a factory for parasites. The evolutionary disadvantage. The forensic findings revealed one more damning piece of evidence. Other animals deal with ticks constantly. White-tailed deer are grooming machines. They feel a tick and remove it immediately. It is instinct. Moose do not have this instinct. Moose are relative newcomers to North America. They crossed from Asia only 10 to 15,000 years ago. In evolutionary terms, that is yesterday. Because they have not been here long, they never developed defenses against the winter tick. They do not know how to groom effectively. They do not recognize the threat until it is too late. Scientists call this being evolutionarily naive. The moose are giant bags of blood that have no idea how to protect themselves. The winter tick found the perfect host, and climate change gave it the perfect conditions. The desperate solution. The forensic evidence forced a controversial decision. If high moose density was allowing ticks to explode, maybe reducing the density would break the cycle. Fewer moose means fewer hosts. Fewer hosts means fewer surviving ticks. Fewer ticks means healthier moose. It sounds insane. Kill moose to save moose. But the math supported it. And the alternative was watching the population collapse anyway. In 2022, Maine launched an experiment. They split District 4 in half. The western section kept standard hunting quotas. The eastern section received dramatically increased permits, especially for cows and calves. The goal was to reduce density from 40 moose per 10 square miles to 20 or 25. Early results are promising. In the reduced density zones, tick counts on surviving moose dropped significantly. Calves showed better survival rates. The animals were healthier. The experiment proves that density is the trigger, but it forces an uncomfortable choice. To have healthy moose, we might have to accept having fewer moose. Quality over quantity. A smaller population of strong animals instead of a large population of dying ghosts. A warning for the world. The forensic autopsies in Maine revealed more than the cause of death for 60 moose calves. They revealed how fragile the balance of nature really is, how 3 degrees of warming can unlock a biological nightmare, how habitat changes and climate shifts can combine to create conditions for mass death. The winter tick is not new. It has always been here, but we gave it everything it needed to become a killer. The ghosts drifting through the Maine woods are not supernatural. They are warnings, evidence of a system breaking down. The silence in the forest grows louder every year. The question is whether we are willing to listen, whether we will make the hard choices necessary to prevent this from spreading further north, whether we will accept that sometimes saving a species means doing things that seem cruel. Because if we do nothing, the only moose left in Maine will be the pale, stumbling specters, the ghosts in the snow, and once they are gone, they are not coming back. What do you think? Should we intervene to save the moose or let nature take its course? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like and subscribe for more investigations into nature's darkest mysteries.